I never thought I'd live to see the day when someone else tried to sell my home while I was still living in it. My cabin wasn't just some piece of real estate sitting out in the woods. It was a place I built with my own two hands after years of saving, scraping, and dreaming. I'd spent more than half my life working long hours, watching the sun rise and set from behind office windows, telling myself one day I'd have a quiet retreat where nobody could tell me what to do. That dream finally came true in the form of a log cabin, tucked away just far enough from town to feel like freedom, but close enough that I could get groceries without needing to plan a whole expedition. The cabin sat on land I inherited from my father, a good man who taught me the value of ownership and pride in hard work. He was the kind of fellow who could fix anything with duct tape and a hammer, but more than that, he taught me that land wasn't just dirt under your boots. It was roots, it was legacy, and it was something no one could take from you unless you let them. Maybe that's why, when the HOA started poking their noses where they didn't belong, I felt his voice in the back of my head telling me, "Stand your ground, son. You don't let anyone take what you built." It started innocently enough. The HOA folks from a nearby subdivision always treated me like an oddball because my cabin wasn't part of their neatly packaged neighborhood. Their homes lined the manicured streets with uniform mailboxes, flower beds approved by committee, and lawns trimmed to military precision. My place, on the other hand, had character, wildflowers growing where they pleased, a handmade wooden gate that leaned just slightly to the left, and a porch swing that creaked like it was telling old stories. I wasn't part of their world, and I had no interest in joining it. But over the years, they made little attempts to rope me in. Notes on my gate asking if I'd consider joining their HOA. Phone calls from numbers I didn't recognize. Even casual neighborly visits where they bring a pie, but somehow slide into conversations about community dues and property value. I always smiled, thanked them for the pie, and told them plainly, "I'm not in your HOA, and I don't plan on being in it." That should have been the end of it. One Saturday morning, I was sitting on my porch with a cup of coffee, listening to the sound of the creek that cut across my property. The breeze was cool, the smell of pine drifted through the air, and for a moment, I felt like I was exactly where I was supposed to be. That's when I noticed two SUVs rolling up the dirt road, dust clouds trailing behind them. I figured it was someone lost or maybe a delivery driver who'd taken a wrong turn. But when the car stopped at my gate, out stepped a woman in heels carrying a clipboard, followed by a man in a suit. Behind them, another couple emerged, looking around like they were sizing up the place. I set my mug down and walked toward the gate. The woman in heels gave me a smile that was polished enough to belong on a billboard. "Good morning. You must be Mr. Harlan," she said. "I am," I replied, already suspicious. "Well," she said, flipping her clipboard, "we're here for the showing. Beautiful property you've got here. The buyers are very excited to see you in person." I blinked at her, then let out a short laugh, thinking I must have misheard. "The showing? Buyers?" "Yes," she said brightly, as if I were the one confused. "Your property was listed by the HOA as available. We're just here to take a quick tour. Now, I don't know about you, but there are moments in life when your blood runs cold. Not from fear, but from pure disbelief. My property listed? By the HOA. Without a word to me? I leaned on the gate, looking her dead in the eye. "Lady, this cabin isn't for sale. It's not listed, it's not available, and it sure as heck isn't under the authority of any HOA." The couple behind her looked startled. The man in the suit cleared his throat and muttered something about a misunderstanding, but the woman in heels seemed determined. "Sir, there must be some confusion," the HOA assured us. I cut her off. "I don't care what the HOA assured you. This land is mine. I built that cabin with my hands. And unless you've got a deed with my signature on it, you're trespassing." That was the first time I locked my gate in their faces. I didn't do it angrily. I did it with the calm certainty of a man who knew his rights. I slid the heavy chain through the latch, snapped the padlock shut, and looked at them through the bars. "No tours today. Not ever." The woman's smile finally cracked, revealing the irritation underneath. The buyers grumbled about wasted time, and soon enough, they all piled back into their shiny cars and drove off in a huff, leaving me standing there with a storm of emotions swirling inside me. That night, I sat at my old oak desk and thought long and hard about what had happened. Part of me wanted to let it go, chalk it up to overreach and arrogance. But another part of me knew if I didn't take a stand, this wouldn't be the last time. The HOA had been pushing boundaries for years, and now they'd cross a line. My father's words echoed again, stand your ground. The next morning, I went into town and had a sign made. Bold letters on a sturdy board, painted in red so there'd be no mistaking it. Private property, not for sale. Trespassers will be prosecuted. I posted that sign right on the gate, nailed it good and tight, and then I sat back on my porch with another cup of coffee, waiting. Sure enough, it didn't take long. A day later, one of the HOA board members came marching up my drive, face red as a tomato, waving his arms like I'd offended the king himself. "You can't do that," he shouted before he even reached the gate. "Do what?" I asked, sipping my coffee. "Put up that sign. It makes the neighborhood look bad. It lowers property values." I laughed so hard I nearly spilled my drink. "Buddy, this isn't your neighborhood. This is my land, my sign, my rules. And if you think property, respecting ownership, you've got bigger problems than me." He blustered and threatened lawsuits, but the truth was he had no leg to stand on. The deed was mine, clear and uncontested. I wasn't bound by their HOA covenants, and they knew it. Still, they tried. Letters in the mail. Complaints filed with the county. Even a few more showings that I shut down before they got past the gate. But the more they pushed, the stronger my resolve grew. And here's where the life lesson comes in. I realized that people, whether they wear suits or carry clipboards, will always test your boundaries. They'll poke and prod, trying to see how much they can get away with, how far they can push you before you push back. If you give an inch, they'll take a mile. But if you hold steady, if you know who you are and what's yours, eventually they back down. Months later, the HOA finally stopped trying to meddle in my business. My sign remained on the gate, a quiet reminder to anyone passing by that some things in this world aren't for sale. Not for money, not for convenience, not for someone else's idea of order. My cabin stood just as it always had, weathered but strong, a testament to independence and the kind of stubborn pride that keeps a man rooted in place. And sometimes when I sit on that porch with the creek whispering nearby, I imagine my father sitting there too, nodding in approval. Because in the end, it wasn't just about a cabin or a sign. It was about standing up when it mattered, about protecting what's sacred, and about remembering that peace is worth fighting for. I guess that's what I'd want anyone listening to this story to take away. Life will hand you battles you never asked for. Neighbors who test your patience, organizations that think they own more than they do, even strangers trying to sell what they don't have. But your peace, your home, your dignity, those are things no one should ever be able to take from you. And when you stand firm, not with anger but with certainty, you remind the world that some things can't be bought, and some people can't be pushed around. So if you ever find yourself in a situation where someone's trying to write your story for you, remember, you hold the pen. Lock the gate if you have to, post your sign if you must, but don't let anyone sell off your piece of the world. It's yours for a reason, and it's worth protecting.